Internet! What's up, Internet? What's going on? How you doing? What's happening? Oh my gosh. Did you guys have a Thanksgiving weekend or what? Did you all have a Thanksgiving weekend? Because I did. I had an actual Thanksgiving weekend. Boy, howdy, am I, I'm a little swole. I'm a little swole up, you guys. I'm a little swole from the Thanksgiving weekend. And it's definitely Monday. It certainly feels like Monday. Happy Monday to everybody out there. Hopefully you survived it. Let's see. East Coast, you guys should be done with your day, right? And should just be able to kick back at this point, get ready for some Monday Night Football, I think, right? And get excited for whatever game is tonight. I have no idea what game is tonight. I can't remember. We have to click on the other computer if we're going to find that out. We quickly turn the sound off over there. Who is it? Who's playing on Monday Night Football? Tennessee and Houston. Well, no wonder I have no idea who's playing tonight. I don't. Tennessee and Houston. Come on now. Well, to all you Texans fans and Titan fans out there, good luck. I don't know who's going to win tonight. I would... Let's see. Is it... Hold on. Is it Titans at... Where is it? Let me see here. I'm going to click that button. Tennessee at Houston, right? Texans take on the Titans with 8th straight win in sights. Oh, really? Oh, I guess they lost. Oh, Houston is like the first in the AFC South. I hadn't been paying that much attention to the Houston Texans. Tennessee 5-5. I would say Tennessee. I'm going to say Tennessee just because Marcus Mariota, he's wild. He's a wild kid, and you never know what he's going to do. So, yeah, I'm going to say that. Of course, everybody in Texas is going to be super mad at me, but, hey, it is what it is. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about nothing. I'm just saying that Mariota was looking good. Let's see. Let's catch up with the chat here a little bit, see what's going on. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. Oh, we've got a super chat from Rumbus. Thank you very much, my guy. 1657 Swedish krones. Haha. And people shouting out that we got notifications. I don't know that if I want to tell you guys how I got it to send out notifications. Should I? Should I let you know? I'm going to let you know. We started at 3:15 today instead of 3 o'clock. And I would say any time that I've started at the 15 after or half an hour mark, notifications get sent out. And I think that has to do with the cluster that goes out at the top of the hour. Like there's just too many notifications to send out right at the top of the hour. So I think it's just a higher percentage that it'll send out notifications. So I don't know. Cody Moody's here saying, do you know anything about using a paintball tank for CO2? Yeah, for sure. 100%. Yeah, you can 100% use a paintball tank for CO2 unless it's an O2 tank. Unless you're running one of those low-pressure O2 rigs, I used to play paintball back in the day. I don't do it anymore. I'm too old now. I mean, I could. Let's be honest. I could. I just don't have time. I really don't have time to, gear up and go out and play and spend money on it and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, you can 100% use a CO2 tank from a paintball in order to supply CO2 for your your aquarium. You can definitely do that. It's a tank. It does have a little different thing, so you need to get a let me see if I can find the adapter here. Let me see if I can find it. There's I think that's the right one. Let me see. Hold on. We're searching. We are searching. And I think we're successful right here. I think that's the one that we're looking for. Let's find one with, like, free shipping. Let's find one with free shipping, though, you guys. Come on now. Oh, here we go. This one's cheaper. And free shipping. There we go. Let me grab that. We'll copy it. Then we'll paste it over here. Boom! That's what I'm talking about. So there's a link right there. Okay, cool. Uh-oh. Did I go offline? Nope. I'm still online. I could see me. All right. Let me open the chat back up so we don't lose that. Yeah, I'm seeing us. Okay. So that's the little adapter link. I mean, it'll at least give you an idea. The CO2 will be the same out of there. You just have to adapt the thing, and you just have to adapt the top of the tank, essentially. The threaded part is not the right size, so you just need to adapt it to that deal. And I know that I recall specifically talking to Corey about that. He was trying to get those in at the Aquarium Co-op, so he might have them there. I'm not 100% sure. I noticed that some people had mentioned that this weekend's sale at the Aquarium Co-op was awesome, and I'm 100% in agreement with you guys on that. Today he has a big sale going that's 30% off Sarah Foods. As you guys know, I got the treat mix. I like the treat mix. I like the ONIP tabs. The ONIP tabs are my favorite thing, and he's got like 30% off there. So 30% off today off of that food. So if you guys wanted to check that out, feel free. I don't know where my link for it went, but I'll have to find it. Hold on a second. Let me see here. Food. Fish food. Yeah, here's my favorite. This is my favorite food from Sarah. And by the way, last time I talked to the guys from Sarah, they were talking about a possibility of having me come out, probably, with Corey, obviously, to film their facility, which would be awesome. Hopefully that could happen at some point in time. They basically want... we were going to go out there and film, but they didn't have anything running at the time. So the time that we were in Germany, like, they were like, essentially, I think it's something like, I don't know what their schedule is, so don't quote me on this, but it's something like every couple of months, they like break down the whole factory and clean everything. And we just happened to be there when that was happening. So it was like, it just was kind of a poor timing in order to be able to try and, like tour the facility, because they would just be cleaning it. And they would be like, here's a video of some guy with a pressure washer or something. I'm not 100% sure. We didn't get to go because they were doing the cleaning. So, but then they like do runs and stuff. And I really hope for the opportunity to try that out sometime. But we definitely have, I guess the whole reason I was talking about that, there's Sarah Foods today. There's like 30% off. So if you guys wanted to grab some food, that's a pretty good deal. I'm super stoked for the hardscape sale, though. Anybody that noticed, where is it? Here we go. Here's the thing. Copy. And then I got to go over here because I can't just put a straight link into YouTube because it gets super mad if I do that. But the big sale that I'm excited for, I think starts today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. It's either today or tomorrow, or maybe it's over. I don't know. I wish I knew better. Let me see here. Let me go to the main site here. Cyber Monday. So you do need the Cyber Monday code, which is pretty simple for the Sarah Foods. That's this, Cyber Monday 30. So that's pretty easy to know what that is. But there's a... and then what is... where did that go? Black Friday. Here we go. Black Friday deals. Yeah, Cyber Monday is food today. Yeah, starts tomorrow, the aquarium decoration. This is the thing that I'm super excited about. Like all of the Sierra stone and like dragonstone and driftwood and all that stuff. I linked a code into the chat there if you guys want to check that out. Here, let me grab it again. So this takes you straight to the hardscape. That link right there will take you straight to where the rocks and all that stuff are. You guys, here's the cool thing. Like, if let's say you're down in Florida and there were some rocks that you wanted, you can actually go on there and look at pictures of the exact rocks that you could order. Same with the driftwood and stuff like that. And that's realistically so awesome. Because I think they took something from the saltwater hobby. So, like, the saltwater hobby, you could normally get what you see is what you get as far as, like, corals go. So, you could normally order, like, corals, and you could go on and actually look at the exact one that you want to order from, you know, somebody who's selling coral frags, you know. And then you'd be able to buy the exact coral that you wanted to get. And that's pretty awesome. Uh-oh. Candy Overhaul saying I'm pretending not that I don't see you in the chat. I see you guys in the chat. I was just trying to get through the stuff that I wanted to say before I completely forgot. Because there's only like 8 hours left on that sale. And I just wanted to remind people, if you wanted to get some food for your fish, boom, if that's cool. And I won't be here later this week, so I wanted to talk about the rocks and the hardscape stuff that I think is... That's kind of the big deal. It's super hard to get a hold of like good Sierra stone in a lot of areas. And this is a cool opportunity that you could order the exact ones that you want. Not just a random box of stuff from a lot of places that I've ordered from. Like the driftwood I ordered earlier this year. I just got random pieces from, I can't remember the name. What are they called? It's something like... I don't know. It starts with a P, but I can't remember what that was. But I just got random pieces of driftwood, which is kind of lame. But they were still all right, so it's not the worst thing in the world. All right. I see Candy. I see Frank. I see Charlie. I see Mortal Slayer. Steve. Alyssa. What's up, Alyssa? This has, like, this video. Today's live stream has some stuff to do with Alyssa. I got to go over to her place yesterday and get some snails from her. She luckily hooked me up with... like a bucket of snails. So I'm gonna figure out how to repay the snail favor, which is pretty cool. Jason R says definitely a cool sale. Snag the CO2 Elite regulator, and it should arrive today. Of course, now I need a tank of CO2 and tubing and diffusers and a reactor. But you're right. That is the beginning. You know, once you got the diffuser and regulator. That's pretty much, that's the hard part to find. To find a good regulator is the hard part. Stanley says that would be fantastic. I would love to see the food manufacturing. I would love to see the plant manufacturing too and be able to share that with you guys and kind of show you some of the breakdown and that stuff. One of the things I found that was really interesting about Sarah Foods is that the guy who invented the freeze dryer, I don't know how he's involved with the company, like if he invented the freeze dryer while he was there or any of that backstory, and he only spoke German, so he didn't speak English, but I did get to say hi to him, which I was just like, oh my God, that's the guy who invented the freeze dryer? What? Like, oh, I say, we would say that, like, if you had qualified people working for you and you're like, that's the guy who invented freeze drying, you're like, that's pretty much a good quality to have a guy who's making freeze-dried food, right, for fish. He also said, by the way, I enjoyed the plant farm tour in Germany. I do hope to go back to some plant farms and do some more videos there. I have some better equipment now. I have some fail safes now in place that I didn't at the time. And like I said, we lost all that audio, and I just kind of had to salvage what I had. I don't know that I did a great job, but I just did what I could with the deal. Cody's asking, what is your recommendation on a CO2 regulator? Honestly, I would go with that CO2 Elite, the CO2 Art Elite one. I've got one. I've been messing with it. I really like it. It has a lot of benefits to it. Although Aquatech makes one that has lasted a really long time, I don't necessarily recommend the Milwaukee ones because those have a tendency to overheat, or the seals tend to break in them, or other bad things. I would like to try a GLA one, the Greenleaf Aquariums. I've only seen them. I've only got to see them and like touch them. I've never owned one, so I would like to try those sometimes, and I can't necessarily recommend those or not. But the Aquatech ones, yes. The CO2 Art ones, yeah. Those are good. And you might be able to find some other regulators with a solenoid out there that that might work. Rory says, hi, I managed to take 50 Malaysian trumpet snails out of my tank. So many hidden in the substrate. Tank is still teeming with them. Gave them away to some peeps. Awesome. That's a great way to do it. If you can get the snails reproducing, that's always awesome. And Malaysian trumpet snails are fantastic for a planted tank, I gotta tell you. They eat some of the detritus and stuff like that, help break things down a little bit. Also, they do a lot of stirring of the substrate. So, if you think about it in terms of like your lawn out front, you're every once in a while you see somebody and they go around with that pokey thing in the lawn, and it looks like it pulls up these little things that look like kind of like goose poop, but it's actually just little plugs of dirt from your lawn. They're aerating the lawn for you. And that's what they're doing, and it's pretty beneficial in a planted tank too to just kind of gently stir up the substrate a little bit. And us trying to do it as humans with our big clunky hands and stuff is not great. But Malaysian trumpet snails just kind of cruising around and going in and out of the substrate does help to stir it up just a little tiny bit and keep it a little bit aerated. So it is. I find them to be quite beneficial in my planted tanks. They don't eat plants or anything like that, so they come out pretty good. Dom says I'm just going to watch this stream while cooking a risotto. I'll try to contribute as much as I can to the chat when I'm not shaking the rice. Yeah, risotto, don't walk away from your risotto. You got to go low and slow. Low and slow with the risotto. Pay attention. Keep your stirring. Don't break it. Don't burn it. Don't do nothing. There's nothing worse than a bad risotto. You know what I mean? Like, that's just a pasty mess. Disaster. I guess maybe the flavor would still be all right, but it's just bad risotto is awful. Bentley Pascal says the 2.0. Oh, I guess you guys are talking about the Fluval 2.0 versus the 3.0. So Bentley says the 2.0 is slightly higher par, but requires all sorts of nonsense to work like the 3.0. The 3.0 is a far better light. Yes, I have to agree with you on that. The 2.0s do work. If you have one, don't throw them out. I'm still using mine. There's no reason to really throw them out. The 3.0 is really, it's so much more controllable, and it's just more effectively putting the light down. I know that I put out a video where I was talking about the flicker, basically, which you can't see with the human eye. You can't see that, but when you're filming with a camera, you can see the flicker. And it really starts to give you an idea that, yes, it is dumping out more light, but it's like it's doing strange things. It's not as effectively dumping out light. So the 3.0 is much steadier, and the light spectrum on it and whatnot is just more usable to the plants. I hope that can kind of explain it for people. Plus the controllability on it. It's got a built-in timer, the Bluetooth, all that stuff. I know somebody messaged me today. There's no way I'm buying that light because it has Bluetooth, and they're going to be irradiated by the toxic, wavelengths and all that stuff that's going on. But I'm surrounded by Wi-Fi and signal and computers and all that kind of stuff, and that's my choice. Your choice is your choice. You could do what you like. It's all good. I don't stress about it. I'm not worried about that. Just because I'm not. I just am not. It could be something. Could be something to it. But I don't feel like there is. Speaking of computers and Wi-Fi and signal and all that kind of crazy stuff, it has come to my attention that my computers are slowly breaking down, and I keep crashing my editing computer. It's not really anything wrong with it. It's just getting bogged down. It's 2 years old now since I built it, and I'm realizing that here's the thing that sucks, because I was like, all right, I'm just going to order a new CPU. And this is a call out to all my super nerdy computer people, viewers, followers, subscribers, whatever you guys want to call yourself. Anybody that's super nerdy out there, I am going to need your opinion. Let me know if it gets missed in the chat or whatever. Feel free to email me or throw it in a comment down below. I'm deciding on what I got to do here. And so 2 years ago, I built the new editing computer. I had to go Intel because AMD. So the two big companies that make the chip that drives the computer, Intel is one of them. I'm sure you've heard of them. AMD, which is Advanced Micro Devices, I think. I'd have to look that up. But or my Advanced Microprocessor Devices or something like that. AMD. I've always been a fan of AMD personally. Mainly, they're just more affordable for the same amount of oomph, computer-wise. And yeah, it's Oof Deloriac says maybe an Intel i7. I have an i7. And here's the problem with Intel at this juncture. My CPU gets bogged down when I'm editing video and stuff like that, and then I end up crashing the computer, which, okay, regardless of any of that stuff, I wish it was user error. It's just a problem that's compounding over time, and I essentially need a better brain for my computer. So I go online and just go like, you know what, it's probably time to just get a new processor, take the old one out, put a new one in. And Intel is the type of company that constantly changes the format of the chip to actually go in and plug in in layman's terms, right? The socket that it goes into, they change it constantly, so there is no chip that I can move up to, because they changed the format and then released all these other chips over the last 2 years. And Scott Williams and Ed's Fish. So needless to say, I'm not doing an Intel computer ever again, because I'll end up in this spot where I'm at right now, where it's like, oh, I want to add a new part, but I can't because they're not even making them anymore, right? So the old parts are even more expensive now than they were originally, because there's just none out there. And Ed is on the right track. Scott's on the right track. I definitely am considering between Ryzen and the Threadripper. Now, I understand that they're both, AMD under the Ryzen cloud. But I am thinking about the Ryzen 2700X, which seems to be kind of their top model right now, versus the Threadripper. Now, as I talked about before, the socket, as I mentioned, the Threadripper versus the Ryzen, they have a different socket. So I need to figure out if it's a better idea to stay with Ryzen, because the AM4 socket that they're utilizing right now, AMD, they're going to keep doing that for a long time. Now, the Threadripper socket is different. It's a TR4, I think. Yeah, TR4, something like that. But that's much more expensive. And, you know, the architecture that they're putting into the new AMD Ryzen chips, the next iterations of it, they're saying that they're going to stay with the AM4 socket, right, for the next like 4 generations or up to 4 generations. So they're on the 2nd generation right now, and then they're going to do 2 more with the new architecture that's actually 7 nanometers versus the 14 nanometers that they're at right now. So hypothetically, if I go with the Ryzen, I might be able to get 16 cores, 32 thread shortly in the future when the next generation comes out. So I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about it. The Threadripper is pretty expensive in comparison to the Ryzen. I might be able to just do the Ryzen build for, you know, $800 or something like that. Obviously, you know, money is an issue. As I mentioned before, I'm saving up for my taxes, so I'm going to have to be paying my taxes here pretty shortly. So that's going to be, you know, that's going to be a slight issue here, but I am going to have to build a new computer. So if you guys will let me know. Kieran Duncan says, Threadripper if you can afford it, or Ryzen 7, no doubt for editing, especially for the extreme value you get. I work in IT and have an Intel system, and so I'm no AMD fanboy. Like I said, I've got an AMD computer right there. This one I'm working on right now is an Intel computer, and I went with the Intel build because there just wasn't another option at the time. So I went for that because there just wasn't anything else I could do. And now that AMD has released all this new stuff and it's all been tested and all the kinks have been worked out, I think I'm just going to go back to AMD and build one. I want to know between the Ryzen and the Threadripper what kind of value is really going to be there for editing and stuff, because that's the main thing that I do with my computers. Obviously, I surf the internet and stuff, but that's not, you know, if you got 64 gigs of RAM and a processor and a computer, you could surf the internet. That's not a problem. So I figure, so Steve says the 2700X would be the way to go. Yeah, so I don't know. I figure I'd just let the nerds know, and then, you know, if the nerds know, then I'll know that there's other nerds here. I consider myself a super nerd. I end up reading about all this kind of stuff. I see KG Tropicals in the chat. I don't know if he's a computer nerd, but I know he's a nerd just like me. He gets deep into stuff just like I do. As you guys, as I mentioned last week, I quit the tobacco. I quit the cigarettes, you guys, and so I've been doing the vape thing, and have to admit, I'm knee deep down that rabbit hole now. But it's good. I haven't smoked in a long time now. I think a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. I don't know. Since like 3 or 4 days after the baby was born, I think I was down to like 2 or 3 or something like that a day, and then, you know, now I'm vaping. I just don't even want to smoke. So that's working pretty good. I got all my vape stuff sitting here right here, and I know I reached out to KG. If you guys don't know John, I reached out to him and asked him some questions about what am I doing? What am I doing here? Oh, he's a computer nerd, but he's an Apple guy. So he actually isn't a computer nerd because you just got to click the buttons. Yeah, I can't afford that. I can't afford that baller status Apple computer. Corey actually has one. He has an Apple computer for sale, and he was like, "Yeah, you know what you should do is that." You know what you should do is you should buy that old computer I've got there. That it's brand new. He used it for like a little while, and then he couldn't return it because they'd opened it or something. So I think they're selling it on eBay or something like that. And he told me how much it is for like a brand new Apple, and I was like, dude, I could build like 3 computers for that. So yeah, I don't know. Bentley says, speaking of my job, time to get back to beating up some test hardware. Ooh, well, that sounds good. Um, a Frankenstein Dell Optiplex. That works. I like that. Let's see. I would go with that. It'll be the most easily upgradable and adaptable for the next 5 to 10 years in an affordable manner. I would think the Ryzen would be just fine. Savannah has a good point there. I think the AMD is going to be the one that holds out. It just seems to me that like the Threadripper format is just so much more effective at editing and stuff, because there's just so many more cores and pathways for the editing to operate, but it is going to be a lot more money up front. So I think I might end up just going with the Ryzen at this point. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind, so I was hoping the computer nerds out there could help me make up my mind. And I see my lady in the chat with the Leroy Jenkins. I can't yell today. I'm kind of tired. We were up with the baby last night, so I'm a little tired for yelling. I forgot my coffee. Yeah. I'm losing it. I got that dad brain, you know? I got that dad brain. You know? Get that dad brain. And I guess the big reason that I brought up the computer stuff is that today is Cyber Monday. So I was expecting some big deals, but I certainly don't. I certainly didn't see any big deals other than the Threadripper. Like one of the Threadrippers is on is like marked down like $350 or something like that. So I think it's like regularly $900, and right now I think it's like $550. Yeah, something like that. Is that $4? That's $350. Right? Is that right? Yeah, 300 plus 50. Yeah, it's 350. It's marked off 350, marked down 350 right now. So, but I also get the feeling that chip will probably stay marked down. So I don't know. Tyler Clinkscales says, "Hey, I just got the Fluval 3.0 in. Looks awesome, though. I wish the scheduling customization was a little easier to program, but other than that, it's awesome." Yeah, it is awesome, and it does take a minute to learn the app. And I do know. By the way, if you guys do have feedback for Fluval, when I was in Germany, we were hosted by Fluval, which is Hagen, right? Hagen's the big company. And I actually got to talk to the guy who developed the... I don't want to say that he necessarily developed the light itself necessarily, but he's like the guy in charge of all of the people that do the developing. And he said specifically, he was like, look, we do follow the feedback that people give them. So if you guys send them a courteous email that is like, oh, hey, I really like this part. I really like this part. I find this part difficult to use, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. They do like take that into account. So I would bear in mind that that's another one of the reasons that, I'm happy to tell you guys about those lights and stuff, because I just look at the 2.0 to the 3.0, like they really took into account what people wanted as far as the changes to the next one from the 2 to the 3. And the 3, I think, if they improve on that thing, I don't really know how they're going to do that. But if they improve on that thing, I don't know what to do other than the app. And I know they've updated the app a few times since having it in there, having it initially put up, but I don't know what their schedule is or anything like that. Oh, maybe I should type it in here. Forgot my coffee. I don't know. Maybe she'll... Maybe the Vicky Torrio will make a little appearance. Let's see. Ed's Fish says, I personally think the next leap will be hardware streaming. Heck, I used that already for AAA games. Yeah, I think that'll probably be the next big hardware step. I've noticed that like the Felix controller has come out. I don't know if that's actually released for the public yet or anything like that, or if they're still in the they're trying to fund that project or something like that. That seems to be one that would, like, hook up your fish tank and be able to monitor it from far away, which seems to be a pretty cool thing. Dennis Van Tall says, what's currently your biggest bottleneck rendering out videos or playback during editing? Both. Playback's not that big of a deal because my GPU handles that. But I will crash if I have too many things. If I'm editing too many things, that's when I'll crash my editing program. So, you know, that's one of those concerns. Oh my God, it's Victoria and my baby. Oh. There's my lovely baby. She's sleeping. Oh, she's making little bird noises. Well, thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
You're the best. Oh. My lovely lady and the baby. Making a little coffee. Making a little trip. Drop off my coffee for me. Justin says, Newegg has a few sales going on today. Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. You know, it definitely is a good point that they had some sales on there. I definitely looked through that. M. Howie9 says, well, I'll be able to keep my GPU. Yeah, I'll be able to keep my graphics card, but I'm trying to consider all the spare parts that I have lying around here. So I'm going to try to figure that out. Get Jimmy to build you a rendering PC. I could build it myself, not a problem. I don't need Jimmy to build it for me. I've built I've built 5 computers in here in this room. So that's not a problem. I can build it. I just want my my nerd friends to get in on me and let me know. What do you think? Is it worth it to do the Threadripper now, or is it to wait for the Ryzen? Because I could do a Ryzen build like right now. I could do the Ryzen build like right now, and upgrade the chip later, because it's all kind of speculative right now about what they're going to do with the new chips that are coming out. The Threadripper 16 core are cheap with 32 gigs of RAM. Well, I think that's like the 1950, I think, is the 16 core Threadripper, and I think it's like 550 or something like that. And currently the Ryzen, the 2700X is, I think it's only like 239 or something like that. Let me see. I'm going to look while we're on here. Ryzen 7. How much is it? That's not real. That's not real. Where's a real ad? Oh, I guess that's not a big deal. I could go with the 1900X Threadripper for right now. That's only like $300. Where is 2400G? That's not right. Where is it? I looked it up earlier and found it, no problem. Oh, there's one. What is this? Where's like a regular? Is this all like third party? That is weird. Well, you don't see that very often. But either way, they I think it was only like $239 for that chip. Oh, maybe it's like $300. I don't know. Well, either way, $294. There's one. Oh no, that's not the right one. Where'd it go? I don't know why this suddenly became super hard to look up. Am I like looking up the wrong thing? I don't know. So this one says $345, but that's not what I saw earlier. Oh, that one's not even available. Okay, hold on. Let me see what we got here. Not even free shipping. Oh, free shipping and estimated tax. Oh, taxes. Yucky. Yeah, all right. Well, either way. Well, you guys get what I'm going on about. You know, it's total nonsense up in here. But let's get on to the topic of what the show is all about. And that is that we got to go over to Alyssa Bentley's house, and we got all that. We got all that good stuff. And what is all that? Ram's horn snails. We got ram's horn snails. Whoa, that didn't lead in at all. There we go. Make this play forever. Okay, first of all, say hello to our chicken friends. You look at that. Their yard is looking a little bit muddy. I'm going to have to get out there and spread some rock. But they do have this area underneath their coop that they can always, it's always dry under there and have like 6 inches of rock. So that's always going to be dry down there. But look at them chickens. Look at them chickens doing chicken stuff. Oh, lovely hens. But as I mentioned, I was able to go over to Alyssa's yesterday, and she hooked me up with 6 bags of shrimp. Lots of shrimp. This exterior door needs some help. As you guys can see, my fish room is a disaster right now. I've got a ton of cleaning and organizing to do out there, but I'll definitely get to that. You know, as time goes on, time will go on, and I'll get to it. You know what I mean? But it definitely is a mess out in the fish room, and you know, my apologies, guys. I had a baby, so that's definitely taking priority right now. I think tonight I'll probably go out there and do some cleaning and move some stuff around if I got time. If not, I'll take care of my baby. And Alyssa hooked me up with a ton of snails. So we got the ram's horn snails, we got the Malaysian trumpet snails, and we got what are they? The trapdoor mystery snails, mysterious mystery snails. I think that's what they are. I think I want to say I'm pretty sure they're mystery snails. Now I might be wrong, and Alyssa will let us know if I'm wrong or not. But the main reason that we went and got those, of course, I always need ram's horn snails. I always need Malaysian trumpet snails. Those will definitely help me seed the colonies that I got already, just to help out a little bump, because I know that the new pufferfish ate some of them at the very least. So I'm definitely going to have to be, you know, growing some more snails over time here. So it's going to be one of those things that is just going to be an ongoing situation, because I'm going to have to feed these pufferfish, and I don't have an unlimited supply of snails. But now I think I have the source to be able to make sure that I have enough snails. Alyssa really hooked it up. This is like hundreds and hundreds of snails. Now, the mystery snails, they just popped out first, and then more often than not, I would end up with a bag that had some. See that? There's a bunch of ram's horns stuck on the bottom, which is fine. Went through and I am separating them out, and so that the new tank that I set up the other day, that 120 that I set up the other day, the ram's horns and MTS are just going to be going in there. So the trumpet snails, the ram's horns, they're just going to be going in there, and just kind of chucking them in there and keeping them there, you know, because it's a good safe place for them. Even once I start adding shrimp and stuff like that, I will be adding some minerals to the water and stuff like that, which will allow them to produce good strong shells and whatnot. I don't necessarily want to do that excessively with the other tanks in the fish room, so I do have the Killie tank. So the Killies right now are going to be inundated with lots and lots of mystery snails. And so far, my puffer fish are kind of idiots, and they haven't been hammering on the snails that much, mainly because I think they're fairly timid as compared to the rummy nose tetras that are in there, which you guys will fully understand that when we get to that portion of the video, like what I'm talking about. The rummy nose are like, they'll eat a snail, they don't mind. So that's gonna be it's gonna be pretty good. Barbara Jackson says I had to get off my behind and empty some water change buckets I forgot for a couple days. It really stunk. They must have had snails in them. Yeah, if you have dead snails, it just really isn't really anything that smells worse than that. Dead saltwater snails. Whoa, those are the worst. They smell awful. Cowda Punk is here. What's up? Good to see you. Says, I don't know if anyone else would find a video like this interesting, but I love to see how you organize your fish room supplies. Terribly bad. I don't know that I would ever make a video about it because people would just be like, man, your organization sucks. And I would agree with them. I get everything organized and then I make giant messes. It's just kind of crazy. It's just a little bit crazy. James Hand says, Diana, just seen the baby. She says she's beautiful. You both should be so proud. We are very proud. We're very proud of our beautiful daughter. We did, we watched another informative video earlier today that gave us some swaddling pointers. I think we were lacking on some swaddling pointers. And, because everybody's just like, oh, here's how you do it. Boom, 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 boom. And I realized that, so the initial time that I learned how to do the swaddling is how the guy in the video was talking about it today. And since then, everyone that was showing me how to do swaddling, like, no, this is how we do it now. Instead of doing it like in a diamond pattern, most everybody does it like it's the rectangle, and you just lay the baby flat in the middle in the rectangle. And that was just not working out well for me. So we watched a little video on that, and it seems like moving forward it'll be pretty good. Oh, can you believe this is handheld camera shots? Look at this. Handheld. He's going handheld, you guys. So, yeah, here actually is the 120 little update from today. You guys can see the driftwood's doing its little fungus thing, and not a bad deal. And Chat Crotch says, swaddling is like wrapping a burrito. Absolutely not. It is not at all like wrapping a burrito. From a guy who's wrapped thousands and thousands and thousands of burritos, it is nothing like wrapping a burrito. Do you have a baby bum brush and a nose Frida? Both will change your life for the better. I don't think so, but we might. I'm going to Google nose Frida. Oh, yes. Yes, we have that. I didn't know that's what it was called, but yes, we have that. Yeah, we have the Frida baby stuff. Yes, we have that actually too. So yeah, we got that. No worries. Plus, I'm not afraid of doing the sinus rinse. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not afraid of it. Oh, we're at the favorite part of my video where the Scudentai, Scootin' Fruity Puffer. You know what I mean? Just funner to say Scootin' Fruity. There is one of them doing great. Now, here's the thing. Not very aggressive with the feeding because, I mean, if you can kind of see the puffer, you can see they got round bellies because they are going around and eating stuff in this tank and just being totally casual, whereas the rummy nose are a frantic mess and just can't stop eating. So the puffers are kind of just like, yeah, all right, man, you guys are clearly super hungry. I'm not. So yeah, I'm just going to go over here and chill out in these bushes. So, the Rurutu's asking, is that a Congo spotted puffer? Yeah, that's the spotted Congo puffer. I always say this wrong. Skoda Dentai or something like that. I gotta look it up. I always say Scoot and Fruity Puffer because it's much easier. Shoda Ten. What is it? Where'd it go? Shoutadeni. I think that's how you say it. Shoutadeni, right? I think that's how you say it. Shoutadeni, right? Something like that. I don't know. But the little Scoot and Fruity Puffs, man, they are awesome. And I'm super grateful. Preston gifted me those, and dude, I don't know really what to do with the 240 now because the puffers are so cool. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know about these stupid rummy nose in here doing stuff, doing stupid stuff. I'm like, I just kind of want to just have puffers in here. I gotta figure out how I could buy like 100 of them from Preston, and then just have like tons of them in the 240. But then I probably would go broke trying to feed them. So I don't know if that'll actually happen. But it's good to have 3 in there. They're doing great, and the mystery snails are definitely helpful. They will go for them if you crack them open. If you crack them open, they'll go for them. I don't know if they'll go for them if they're not broken open yet because they're kind of fast and big. Kind of big and fast and furious, and I don't know. We shall see. We shall see if I can get evidence of a puffer blasting into a mystery snail. Now, I'm not somebody who advocates, murdering things or whatnot, but it is their natural food, and that's just kind of how it goes. If I'm going to keep the if we can keep the puffers alive and keep them healthy and stuff like that, it's just kind of a sacrifice we have to make. I'm not a psycho. I don't want to just be killing snails like a weirdo, but definitely it is what they eat, so they have to do that. Vicky says, I will take the rummy nose. Okay, well, maybe we'll just move the rummy nose to Vicky's tank. Maybe we'll move them over there. Because currently the Apistos and the bristlenose are all doing fine with the puffers and stuff. I saw a bunch of bristlenose babies, which I am going to give some of those to Alyssa as trade backs for the awesome snail gift, and then we might have to rehome a couple of bristle noses because the super reds we have they're breeding like crazy, and there's a bunch of little ones, so I'll let them grow up a little bit before I go rehoming them though, because they're kind of small. All right, let's see here. Nathan Coates, what tank size would you call appropriate for a single spotted Congo puffer? A 20 long or 29? I would say at minimum like a 60 gallon. Honestly, they do need space to roam around. They still are a messy fish, so bear that in mind. I would not put them in a 20 or a 29 because they will get to be about the size of your fist. They don't get huge, but they will need more space than when they're little. So it is one thing when they're little to keep them in a smaller tank like that, but they will get big. I'm not as big as like a Mabu or anything like that. They'll only get about as big as your fist, but they'll need more space. They'll need more space than just a small tank. So I'd bear that in mind. Let's see here, especially long term. Long term, they are going to get bigger, and they're going to need a lot of space. William Stimpson says, I have sand over topsoil for my substrate. If I get coolie loaches, will they dig up the sand and ruin my substrate? Does anyone know? Please help. Yes, 100%. They will. If you have sand over dirt, anything digging down in there will ruin your whole tank. It's not great. It's a bad day. Coolie loaches will dig down there. That's just what they do. Coolie loaches also, they're a great fish and everything, but they will ruin that. Nathan's follow-up says, didn't expect them to need a tank that size. Yeah, they will get bigger than you think. Now, they won't get huge, but They will get about that big, and a 29 gallon is just not enough for a fish that size. That just being that meaty. They get very fat. Randy Reed's named Poe is a fat little bugger. Yeah, they get round. They get beefy. Gabriella Stahl says, I have a problem with my green fruit flies in my goldfish fry tank. They're laying eggs and hatching out of my sponge filters. Does anyone know how I can get rid of them? Huh. They're laying eggs and hatching out of my sponge filters. Gabriella, I'm very confused by your question. Fruit flies. Yeah, I don't know. I'm confused by your question. I wish I could answer it, but I'm just confused. Let's see. Would attack snails and break them up, but not eat them? What's that? Avery Hill says, what is the worst freshwater fish you've ever kept? Arowana. Hands down. Arowana are the stupidest fish to own. They're the dumbest. I mean, maybe alligator gar, but alligator gar they act exactly the same. But they are the worst pets. They're the worst pets, honestly. I don't know. I don't know why people keep them. They break out, they bust out, they jump out of tanks. They don't want to be in a tank. They will mess up whatever aquascape you have, whether it's like you'd have big rocks in there, and they'll figure out a way to move them around. They're just a really rude fish, and 9 times out of 10, when you got a really big, nice arowana, one of these days you come home and they're dead on the floor. And that's just how it goes. So I find those to be wildly disappointing, and generally, large ones are really expensive, which you could easily have a large koi that is much more entertaining and pretty much will do just about all the stuff that an arowana will, like swim around and look cool. So I personally, that's probably the most irritating fish. I didn't keep those at my house, though. We kept those at the store, and they were every store I've worked at, they're the most annoying fish. And every customer's house that you would go to or friend's house or whatever that you have to deal with the arowana, it's always a pain. It's always a pain. I would probably rather keep like a big mouth bass before I would keep an arowana, personally. Gabriella says, some random green fruit flies started laying eggs in my tank. They're tiny little white buggy guys crawling in the tank and glass. Found their larvae hatching out of my sponge filters. That probably is, in my guess, I don't think that's fruit flies. I mean, that might be fruit flies, but that sounds like planaria. That sounds like planaria, I would guess. Pretty much. If I had to guess something, I wouldn't think that's necessarily fruit flies. But I mean, any kind of anything's invading into your tank. I mean, you remove their eggs and stuff like that. You can always replace the sponge filter. If it was fruit fly larvae and stuff like that, your fish would eat it. Mosquito larvae, any little fly larvae, black flies, stuff like that, the fish will generally eat them. So my guess would be if you have little white things hatching and kind of wiggling around in your tank, it's probably planaria. So the first thing I would do is cut back on feeding. I would make sure that you're not overfeeding, and that's what I would do, is definitely cut back your feeding. Cherokee Maiden says 164 watching, only 5 likes. Yes! That's what we call a ratio. That's what we here in the YouTube business call a ratio. 164 people watching, only 5 people were motivated to touch the button. Probably because I talked about computers and stuff, and people got mad. But yeah, we're back talking about fish tanks and stuff like that. Brittany says, we may have talked about this some, but I'd like to talk more about the Scoot and Fruity Puffers, tank size, adult size. Has the price come down? Any availability? The price has come down a little bit. They are becoming a little bit available. I wouldn't necessarily say they're becoming really available. You know, over the last year, it's become apparent to anybody who could breed, could want to breed, anybody who could be trying to breed them or anything like that, got their hands on them and definitely are starting to breed them. So it will be something that I think is available to most people. I think they'll probably level out around probably the $50 or $60 mark, because that's, you know, that's where most of the pretty commonly acquirable puffer fish are sort of at, right? They're generally speaking around that price point. So I think they'll probably balance out around there. And I one of the big reasons for that is, you know, if you try to sell them for like $5, you'd essentially sell them to people that would go home and like not take care of them and probably kill them. So I don't think it'll ever go anything lower than that. Maybe it'll, you know, maybe it'll be $89.99 or something like that. But I do expect at some point in time they will drop down under the $100 mark. When that is, I don't know. You know, I do have my crystal ball, but every time I try to ask my crystal ball questions about prices of things in the future, it tells me go buy a lottery ticket. I don't know why. It's just very odd. It's like, go buy a lottery ticket and leave me alone. I'm just a crystal ball. And yeah. This kid's got jokes. Not very good jokes, but I got jokes. You know, I don't know when or how or why the price will come down, but they definitely will need some at least live food, if not frozen food. So most everybody is either if anybody's breeding these puffers, they're hatching you know, Daphnias and all sorts of Infusoria and stuff like that. You know, once they're grown to about the size that I have them, they're kind of juvenile, that you don't necessarily need to be hatching anything, you know, so you get some brine shrimp, stuff like that. And that would be fine. But I just find frozen foods and snails and maybe some shrimps later, like some raw shrimp or something like that will probably be fine. You know, just want to make sure that we keep their beak down. Right now isn't a huge concern, but as they get older, you just definitely want to check and make sure that they are kind of grinding them down just a little bit. Like, these ones aren't going to be as crazy as like the Mabu or anything like that. They don't have quite as crazy a beak, you know. So, you know, as long as there's availability of live food and stuff like that for them, it's going to be pretty straightforward on how to feed them. Feed them, you know, frozen stuff, good food that they're going to go for. Right now, mine are living off shrimp and snails and stuff that are just living and breeding in the tank. So this is the first little batch of food that I've even, you know, attempted to give them, and they're pretty confused by it. And like I said, the rummy nose were just hammering on it and going for some live shrimp or live snail meat. They were going for some escargot pretty aggressively. So I probably will use the Sarah Onip tabs in the future to you know, distract the rummy nose, get them out of the way, and then you know, feed the puffers that route and just crack a snail probably for each one and just let them eat a snail. Alexandra says, what's a good puffer for a 36 bow front? I don't think permanently that's good for really any puffer. You know, you're going to need a bigger tank. And one of the main reasons for that is that they are pretty messy, you know, and as much as I like to tell people like, oh yeah, I do all my water changes on time, you know, cause I'm just like, you know, I'm on it, bruh. Stuff happens, you know. You have a baby, you miss a week, a water change, you miss this, you miss that. You know, that kind of stuff happens. So, you know, have a big tank so you can keep it stable, even if there is some extra waste. You can have some extra filtration. I've got a ton of filtration on this tank, which I'm actually even going to be expanding now. So, it realistically is going to be, you know, it's going to be even more filtered, and at some point in time I will automate the water changes. This probably would be the best puffer to start out with in a 36-gallon bow front. I wouldn't really say there are any that would go great in there. Pea puffers, you probably couldn't even put enough in there to make them entertaining, so that probably wouldn't be that great. But you could probably put one of these in like a 36 bow front maybe. By the time it gets full grown, though, you're going to want to move it to another tank. And I try not to set myself up for like more work in the future. So I would much rather just get a bigger tank, get a bigger setup, something that's kind of permanent, and then get ready for something like a puffer that is going to last a long time. It's going to live a long time. So you can have a long time of dealing with them. Mortal Slayer says, anybody have recommendations for a schooling ditherfish for angelfish and it planted? Danios, realistically. I would just go Danios for ditherfish for an angel tank, because angels will, believe it or not, they don't seem crazy and aggressive and stuff like that because they don't do a lot of hunting and eating during the day. But at night, when we're not around, they go buck wild in there. And Danios are almost always kind of my go-to for like ditherfish because they're almost always like 50 cents a piece or something like that. And I feel like a jerk saying that, but they're cheap and they're cool looking. So, you know, and they don't really reproduce like crazy or anything like that. So they always just seem like a good ditherfish to me, but maybe I'm cold-blooded. Cold-blooded. Right? Maybe? I don't know. Hope not. I hope not. Hope I'm not freaking you out. But, yeah, hopefully that answered that question. Let's see. What else we got going on? Let me check in here. My angel really enjoyed having cardinals in his tank. Somehow these fish disappeared. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's kind of one of those things. Like, we see the angels during the day, right? We see the angels during the day, and we're like, oh, yeah, look at them. They're just chilling. They're just chilling and kind of, like, looking around and being little angelfish, you know what I mean? Like, they're just not being all crazy. But at night, they do have a tendency to go a little bit buck wild and do crazy buck wild stuff when it's nighttime. So remember, they come from really fast waters, which are typically really muddy and stuff like that. So not only do they have a keen ability to hunt in just ridiculously messed up water that you can't even see through, but they also, it's moving super fast. So it's like the double whammy is that, like, the angelfish are just chilling during the day. Otherwise, they're just going to waste a ton of their energy. So during the day, they're just chilling. And at night, that's when they go and, they do really start doing their hunting and stuff like that. And, of course, we're asleep. We're asleep when all this is going on, and we're not looking in there to see what's going on or, any of that kind of stuff. And we just kind of are really not paying attention. So, Avery Hill says, Joel, will killifish go well with your new puffers? They probably would, honestly. Because I think if the killifish could either like hold their own, and I don't think that the killies could mess with the puffer. Sorry, I just dropped something. Dropped this little tiny piece. I don't want to lose it. But it's is this thing broken? Is this thing on, man? What do we got going on here? I think I think I got something wrong. What's the word I'm looking for here? What's the word I was looking for? Yeah, I think the killies would realistically be able to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't be able to eat the puffers, and I don't think the puffers would be able to eat them. So, I think they would be reasonable tank mates. All right, back on to another question. James Handy says, I've had good luck with rummy nose and guppies with angels. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm glad that you might be able to pull that off. Preston John is in the chat. That is where I got these pufferfish from. So if anybody is wondering, he's probably going to get a million emails now. So I'm sorry about that. But I did get them from Preston, and I'm super happy to have not known that I made his acquaintance in Minnesota, because I only got to say hi for him for just a second when we were in Minnesota. And he was like, dude, I've met you before. We were in Minnesota, and I was being super quiet. And I was like, oh man, I feel like a dork now. But it's great to have been able to hang out and talk with him for a couple hours, just kind of one-on-one. So that was pretty cool. Not only make a friend, get a cool fish, and so it's just kind of like a double whammy of awesomeness. And just some community stuff. And I don't understand why when I move that thing around, it completely breaks. It breaks everything. What happened? Man, did I accidentally close? Huh. Oh, I have to open it like that. Okay, whoops. Sorry about that, guys. All I did was move the chat, and it closed all the windows. It's like a new feature we have here. If I move the chat, all the windows close. Like I mentioned, I got to build a new computer. What I was trying to say was, speaking of building a computer and building a community, and having gotten the lovely opportunity to meet and greet a bunch of you, I would like to continue being able to do that. And I hope to be able to continue doing it in the future. And the main way that we're able to do, or I've been able to pull off or do any of that stuff. Oh wow! I just had a bunch of people delete their Patreon. Whoops. Let's not talk about the Patreon right now. A bunch of people just deleted it. So either way. I'd like to post in there and say thanks to all the patronizers that have helped out with building the community and stuff. We have a long way to go, and I think we're just going to keep growing and growing on this momentum of 2018 and do some cooler stuff next year. I hope to get to meet more of you in person. There's 4 conventions I'm going to try to go to next year, like 2 Aquashellas and the AGA is here. That's one I'm going to be able to just go to. I want to try and do some special stuff for people that are going to make it to the AGA. I don't know how I'm going to be able to pull that off or not. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it off or not. Right now, I am a little bit. I'm a bit reticent to deal with my tax bill is going to be crazy, and a bunch of other things I got to pay for coming up here, and a baby and all that kind of stuff. So. Dunno. Brian's Fish Tank says, I'm from Minnesota and I don't know Preston, so he had puffers near me. No, Preston was in Minnesota. He lives in Arizona. That's where his that's where all of his tanks and his projects are. He's in Arizona. But he was in Minnesota when we were there. Thanks so much for the sewage fly suggestion, but that's not them either. The flies are small and greenish. The larvae hatch from the sponge filters are not white and the size of the fry. So, Gabriella, I'm really confused about what you got going on with these little flies. I wish I could see a picture of them. A great way to do that would be to post it onto the community page on the Patreon page that I posted there. You can post it up in there, or you could email me a picture of what these are, and we could try to get to the bottom of it. For whatever reason, I'm from your typing explanation, I'm not figuring out what it is. So If there's a spot where you could post a picture of it, hey, we'll be getting on the right track and trying to figure out what it is and how we can help you out. I don't want to tell you how to treat for something that I don't know what is, and it might screw something up. Krager024, can sandstone rock be used for aquascape like a Lake Tanganyika cichlid tank? Yeah, I would only use sandstone only in a cichlid tank like that. It's gonna mess up. It's gonna raise your pH. It's gonna raise your pH quite a bit. You can do it. Just make sure you're putting the right fish in with them, and that's the way to go. Brittany says my play is being all glitchy. I'm going to have to catch it on the replay. Have a good night. Okay. Oh, I hate it when it's being glitchy. Avery Hill is asking, Joel, are you the new Aquarium Co-op employee? The interwebs are dying to know. Troll us no longer. It's not me. Hey, man. I don't think it's I don't even think it's a question that I've built stuff for Corey. You know what I mean? Like, I built his pond. We released videos of building ponds at Corey's house. Like, I help Corey out, but yes, he has paid me for, work, and which is fine. It's all legit and legal. Like, it's all taxed and forms filed and all that kind of nonsense. But I am not the new employee. The new employee you guys will know who the new employee is. It ain't me. I'll tell you that. The new employee is going to be doing a ton of stuff that theoretically I would know how to do, right? Like, theoretically I would know how to do, but, not in, like, I'm an expert in this field kind of thing. So I'm pretty excited for the new hire. It's hopefully going to be super awesome for the guys up there. And but it's not me. That's not who it is. You ain't figured it out. Let's see. Remember when I read it, some research said it takes like 6 months for most fish to get used to new setup before their stress level goes down, but sometimes they just gotta move them. Green spotted puffer only gets to about 4 or 5 inches. Yeah, but remember, puffers get 4 to 5 inches around also. So they're a thick little ball of fish. It's not like a skinny, sleek 4-inch long fish, right? It's like a baseball. So their poops are funny. I will tell you. Their poops are hilarious. I saw a fish eating one of the puffer's poops the other day, and I thought about it after the fact that I should have had my camera out and taken a picture of that because it probably would have been funny. What Elbow Aquatics? My mistake. I took your question as having the need to repair a non-working air pump. Most manufacturers will replace the parts. Oh, what happened here? Let's see. Let's scroll back up. Air pumps are still running strong and quiet. Just cracks the rubber from age. No need to throw away a perfectly good pump for the want of probably 10-cent part. Ooh. What happened here? I have a couple of ancient air pumps with cracked diaphragms. Suggestions for places I can find the replacements. The repair kits are more expensive than a new pump. Let's see. Alio Cat was asking about that, and that's a good question. I think if you did find an old air pump, and it was a good air pump, I would, If it's a good old air pump, how would I repair it? You know what I would do? I think the first thing that I would do would be, I would find a local, like, small engine repair type place. So maybe somebody that works on leaf blowers and things like that. So I would find somebody that does that, go there and be like, hey, man, do you know how to fix this? That's probably where I would go. Or I'd find the rebuild kit online, and if it was just outrageously priced, I would just source it from a different location that had it cheaper. Wet Elbow Aquatics. Rock Talk, what is Dragonstone? Is it a volcanic product or weathered by nature water flow? It is a sedimentary rock that is, I guess the easiest way to describe it, it's more like hard clay. It's basically hard clay, pretty much, would be the easy way to describe it. You can break it up, smash it up real easily. I forget the exact sedimentary thing because I'm not a geologist. But I lived with one for years and years, and we did a ton of studying on it and that kind of stuff. But it's not something I use on a daily basis, so I wish I could just rattle all that stuff off, but I don't. But to give you an idea, it's like hard clay, basically. So it's not 100%. What's the word I'm thinking of here? Inert. It's not 100% inert, if that makes sense. It's not like basalt. It's not a permanent rock. It's more like a half-fired clay, pretty much. And it's natural occurring, so no worries. It's good. I like to use it, but just be aware that it will change your water parameters a little bit. Isabella asks, I have pea puffers, and I cannot find any snails small enough. Should they be small enough to fit in their mouth, or do they kind of take a bite out and come back? Pea puffers have a tendency to kind of take a bite out and come back, but they don't do much work on the shell, actually, believe it or not. Pea puffers, I always just fed bloodworms and mosquito larvae, if you aren't afraid of that. That's a good one. Daphnia is generally a good thing. Baby brine shrimp, stuff like that. Just stuff that they could just swallow and get. That has good protein. That's the main thing that you just need to think about with pea puffers. So, and then whenever I fed them snails, I always just crushed up the snails. And then they would come and get them and figure it out. Even those mystery snails I put in there, I popped those and dropped them in so that the Scootin' Fruity puffers in there could do a good job. Lexi V says, is black Mexican beach rock you see at landscaping places okay to use in aquariums? Generally speaking, yes. That is generally pretty good. Most black stone is pretty inert and won't really do anything. I would double check with whatever rock yard you're at and ask them what kind of rock it is. You can always take muriatic acid and stuff like that with you to test the rocks, but it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know. If you're going to a good rock yard, somebody there should know what all the stones are and what they do. And if you're at a rock yard where they're like, I don't know what these rocks are, I don't know what they'll do in water, because I don't know, I'm just a guy. You're like, you found the wrong guy. Go find the guy who knows the answers. And if that's the dude who owns it or runs it, go somewhere else. Like, don't reward that nonsense. Don't reward somebody owning a rock yard and not have a clue what kind of rocks they have for sale. Rurutu says, will pea puffer eat frozen shrimp or fish fillet? I don't know about the fish fillet, but generally they'll bite frozen shrimp. They'll bite at it. My peas must be vicious. They never need help with snails, including a mystery snail. Well, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that, Candy. It's probably your crazy Montana water getting them all fired up. Any suggestions for shrimp proofing a glass lid with a hang-on back? Realized I lost my new Amano. They took a deadly adventure. They do that sometimes. Sid Rome's Erickson. I like that. Amano shrimp will just get out sometimes. But shrimp proofing a glass lid, I just make sure none of the openings are big enough for them to get out. You could cut and polish a piece of glass. You could always cut a piece of acrylic if it's kind of small and doesn't have a long bend to go to it. But once in a while, an Amano shrimp will get out, which sucks. But sometimes they'll aggressively get out sometimes. I would check your water conditions if that's the case. I would also double check I would remind yourself that the Amano shrimp are just going to live their life in there. They're not going to be able to breed or do anything else like that. So I would consider why you want Amano shrimp, if that's the case. If you're really trying to protect them and keep them, I would try to think like, why do you really want them if they're just going to live in your tank and die off and not be able to breed or anything like that? Oh my gosh, we're almost an hour and a half in. So I'm going to get rocking and rolling here and get on out. Because I got to go take care of the baby and let Vicky go back to sleep. A mono shrimp will want to escape your tank if it's too hot. Yeah, that's true. Joel, I have a 55-gallon aquarium. The substrate is eco-complete. I run CO2. I dose Easy Green. I run Phoenix Planet Plus LEDs. I just put in the Octopus plant. How fast will it fill up my aquarium? Thanks, man. Avery, that Pogostemon stellatus octopus will fill up your tank quite rapidly. So there will be a day where you'll remember this day and you'll be like, man, I remember when my tank wasn't completely jammed up with plants that I need to trim constantly. I love it because of that, and I also kind of hate it because of that. But definitely like that plant, and it won't take that long. All right, we're coming up on the end of the show, so I want to remind people, go check out the Patreon if you feel like you want to be part of the crowdsourcing. We're coming up on the end of the month. It is a once a month charge. You can be a $1 a month person, and you get my undying gratitude for sure. And also, you could be like Charles Wheeler, who's brand new Patreon today. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it very much. As I mentioned earlier, there's a big old sale at the Aquarium Co-op. And here's that link. Copy. Paste. And I think the code is something about Cyber Monday 30. I think that's what it is. Cyber Monday 30. And the biggest thing that I was wanted to mention to you guys is that those rocks and stuff, we are definitely talking about substrate, rocks, all that kind of decorations and stuff. Head over to the Aquarium Co-op because that stuff is going to be 25% off for like the next 3 or 4 days. You can get the what you see is what you get box of the exact rocks, exact driftwood that you want at a pretty good discount, which I think is awesome. You know, unless you can go in store, I don't think you're going to see a discount like that, right? James says, thanks, have a good night. Chickens, haven't seen yours in a while. Yep, still doing good. Chad Kratz, thanks for the stream. You all have a good evening. Chris Herrera, what brand heaters do you prefer? They all have bad reviews. The Eheim Jaeger heaters are kind of my favorite. My second favorite's the Fluval E-Series. After that, it's all kind of just a toss-up of nonsense. But the Eheim Jaeger heaters have pretty much never done me wrong, except for when I broke them. But I want to tell everybody to have a fantastic night. Have a fantastic time out there. Don't get too crazy. Don't do any burnouts. Don't do any fireworks. Don't do any of that stuff. Let's just take it easy for a couple days, and then we'll get back. We'll start getting prepped for the New Year's and stuff. And I want to thank everybody for coming out, and I'll talk to y'all later.